none of us will ever be the same. And that is typically the case as we live our lives. We all come into the world the same. We're born naked. We're born kind of trying to figure things out. And as we move through our lives, we start to make different choices. We start to move in particular directions, not even understanding why. Because we've been guided. We've been given something within us that we're meant to follow. And sometimes we don't always follow that. But I'm talking about this for a different reason now, because as a coach, I'm always guiding people to that next step in their life, to who they're supposed to become, because I can always see that. I can always feel that. I'm intuitive. I'm also a mystic and a sage. And so I've been writing and receiving information for more than 3 years about what's happening in our world now. But I know most people couldn't hear me because they hadn't seen it yet, but we're right there. Our world is changing. And this is an evolutionary change, which my guides have said it's a restructuring, meaning we're trying to create a better world. That's what's going on. And where we're sitting right now is a really kind of crazy place, because we have a choice. We can either decide that we're going to destroy the world or we're going to save it. And the way that we save it is by becoming who we're meant to become. That's every single person. Because see, the world is created energetically. There's no one person who's controlling what's going on. It's each of us. And if we're not owning what we were given, then we're not adding to the creation, the formation of our world energetically. And that energy should be one of love and light and all of that. But that's within us. But we got to move through our own stuff in order for us to get there. The world is not going to change unless we change. That's all of us. It means moving through all your shame and all your embarrassment and all your guilt and all your judgments and all your hatred. We all have it because we came in that way, or we learned it as we live. And those energies come together and create combustion, so to speak, in our world. This is why we have a war. It's not accidental. This has been coming about for a long time. And again, all this stuff that I've written about is actually much longer than a few years. I actually started talking about it in 2016 because I had to acknowledge my biases and what I needed to move through, because it's an evolutionary journey. Each person has a plan for their life that they're meant to follow, and if they do that, they will live incredible, extraordinary lives. And I'm talking about this now because I had to kick myself in the butt. I wrote an article this morning. I said, don't underestimate yourself. Never underestimate yourself. And I've done that most of my life. And it's just something that I've done. It's just this kind of quirk within me that forever I've done it. When I started coaching vocals, I talked about this. I didn't know what I was doing. I was really afraid, and I started. And then I wasn't charging that much money. I was charging like $25 a half hour, something like that. And then I figured, wait a minute, I'm really good at this. And then people started becoming successful. They started becoming superstars, and they were making all this money. I've created millionaires, not because necessarily of what I did with their voices. That was a great part of it, but it was more of working with them to become confident in who they are. That's all. It's all mindset. Everything that we accomplish or do in our lives is about mindset. If we're nervous about something, it's because we're not connected to our authentic self. Now, there are going to be times, I talk about this all the time in my performances, when we perform, yeah, we're going to have some anxiety when we get up on the stage. But when you get up on that stage and you're confident with who you are, that anxiety turns into adrenaline. It's what it is, actually. And then you give this great performance. And I know this because I lived it. But now what's happening is we're moving through a period that nobody's experienced before, and people are a little afraid. Well, I know about fear because I wrote a book about that in 2019. Again, because I knew where the world would be moving and that more people would use the information that I received from my Wilhelm to be able to move through their fear. Now, the thing that I had to move through was my own doubt and disbelief. Everybody does, because you don't know what you have or what you've created from what you've lived. We've all done that. Just existing, you've created something. Even if you thought what you did was a failure, or if success, whatever it was, no matter what you did, you gained value because you learned something, you gained wisdom. But what we have to do is reinterpret that, because a lot of times when we have failures, then we're saying we're dumb, we're wrong, we did something horrible. How can you do anything else after that? So my whole entire work has been about reprogramming, retraining our brains, because that's the only way we do anything. It's neuroscience. And so you hear about mindset all the time. And so I discovered, oh, wait a minute. I've developed something that can change any mindset because I've gone through it. I've walked through every single difficulty, illness, every kind of problem that any person could experience. And so I understand how you move through that by changing your mind. And I've developed techniques and ways of doing that really work. But then I still had to accept that I had done that. Same thing I go through with my clients. Look at what you've done. Can't you see that? Most times we don't. Because see, when we've done it, it's become a part of us, and so we don't understand the value of that. And that's what hit me yesterday. I was listening to a channeling session that I did just about a year ago, and it just blew me away because all the information was in there about what my work was, what was happening in the world. If people would listen to that, you would understand what is going on. We're having an evolutionary change, and the way that we each make that change better is by deciding to move through our blockages and restrictions and decide to love ourselves and become who we're meant to be. And that's what I have to do now, because I know. First of all, let me just say I'm doing it now because in the next couple of weeks we're going to have a lot of stuff going on, and people need to uplift themselves because they'll think something is falling apart. You're going to think the world is coming to an end. It is not if you do something by owning who you are. Now, most people will not even hear what I'm talking about or not understand it because they're not looking at it in that way, and they're doing their own thing, and that's okay. That goes on throughout our civilizations. What happened in more than 100 years ago when we had the war, on World War II, when you think about that, it was because, the same kinds of energies were happening, and then most people weren't paying attention. How could we have had the Holocaust? No, people were looking in another direction, and we could possibly be doing the same thing now, except I'm not doing that. Now, when in 2021, I was told, wow, you have everything that you need that anyone could use to change their mindset. That didn't make sense to me, except I had to prove it, and I did that in December of 2021. But now I know I have to move through my other blockage, which is about money. We all have something, and it's generational, where we can't allow ourselves to receive what we should have. And it's something that we carry with us, and we have to change that in our mindset, and I have to do the same thing. That was said in that video as well, which was really kind of uncomfortable for me to listen to, because it was saying, we live in different dimensions, and I need you all to understand that. And this is why I'm doing my calls, my question and answer system series with Wilhelm, because I want people to understand this. We live in different dimensions. You must understand that. It's all in our minds. Now, we are multidimensional beings, whether you believe that or not, but we are. When I go into a trance and I'm receiving information from Wilhelm, which I've done since 1988, this information is pure cosmic wisdom, universal knowledge. I couldn't explain to you how it happened, but that's what happened. And over years, I developed this really great skill of doing it and being able to interpret the information quickly and then putting in ways that people can utilize it and change their lives. And I couldn't hear this before because my mindset needed to change. When I did the program, put people in it in December of 2021, someone said, I've done Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield, and Abraham Hicks. Never got the result that I wanted. This seemed to work better or faster. And that was what came through with this work that I'm having. And so, but I was holding back because I said I don't want to charge people too much. And that never works. I was in 2 summits this week because all coaches go through this, not just me. There's one coach who's doing this thing about money mindset. There's another one talking about 7-figure process. We all go through it. We don't trust who we are. We don't trust the knowledge that we have and the wisdom. Every single person does that. But when you understand that there's a process to move through and that you can change it, everything, you're home. I have that process. I am never going to convince anyone that this works. I just have to work with the people who are doing it. And I'm grateful, though, because I did an interview almost a couple weeks now, and several people have come into, I've met with, and I'm so thrilled because several people have come into the program because of that. And a lot of them are coaches. It's just the way it is, because we know we have to do this, but there's still this disconnect in our mindset about how much should we charge. And we always kind of struggle with that. I've talked about it so much in my work. But now we have to move beyond that because this change in our world is also about the money. This is why you're seeing all these things happening with our economy and all of that, because there's a shift that's happening. And those who have had all the money for all these centuries, who weren't doing enough to make our world better, got to let go of a little bit of that. And then those of us who really care about the world being better can allow ourselves to receive that money, and that's what I have to do now. And so that's why I'm doing everything. I'm making my changes, and I have another great interview coming up in a couple weeks that I'm thrilled about, because it's going to put me on big stages now, because I held back just like you do. I know we all do that, but when you understand that it's just about taking the next step into who you're supposed to be, and it's a sequential thing. We don't get there right away, but I have a plan that can do that. The reason I guarantee it, because I know it works. I'm never going to convince anyone to try it, just the people who are really willing and who want to become successful. The thing I'm saying is that anybody who comes into this program, you will be successful, because I don't stop. I've never stopped. 72 years old, I've never stopped, no matter what I have gone through, and it's the same now. But now it's different, because it's far more important for our world to make a difference, and I know that, and this is what I'm doing. You can do the same thing, and it's just about loving yourself and doing what you came into the world to do and being able to prosper. That's the work that I'm doing, all right? But none of us will ever be the same. Just remember that. It'll be a good thing.